Google was found guilty of having an ad tech monopoly, the company's roadmap for AI to exceed human intelligence, Microsoft and Western Digital recycle hard drives and recover rare materials, and your parents were wrong. It does cost you to be polite. Well, to an AI anyway. Welcome to #Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. A U.S. district court has ruled that Google illegally monopolized key segments of the online advertising market, marking a significant defeat for the tech giant. Last Thursday, the court found that Google violated antitrust laws by willfully acquiring and maintaining monopoly power in the markets for publisher ad servers and ad exchanges. The plaintiffs have proven that Google has willfully engaged in a series of anti-competitive acts to acquire and maintain monopoly power in the publisher ad server and ad exchange markets for open web display advertising, was the judge's conclusion. This decision opens the door for potential structural remedies, including the divestiture of parts of Google's advertising business. Now, while the ruling is a major setback, the legal battle is far from over. Google plans to appeal the decision, arguing that its ad tech tools are competitive and beneficial to publishers. The company maintains that it earned its market position fairly and that disrupting the ecosystem could harm competitors and users' privacy. The potential consequences of the ruling are significant, and they could reshape the digital advertising landscape and impact how online ads are bought and sold. But despite these challenges, Google remains confident in its legal position. The company argues that the market definitions used in the case were too narrow and that its ad tech tools operate in a highly competitive environment. Google believes that upon appeal, it can demonstrate that its practices have not harmed competition or consumers. Despite their optimism, this is another defeat for Google. Last year, the company lost a huge case when a judge ruled that its practice of paying other tech companies to make its search engine the default on devices and browsers was anti-competitive. Based on that ruling, the DOJ recommended that Google be forced to sell Chrome, the world's most popular browser, and to decouple it from Android, which is also the world's most popular mobile OS. The company could even potentially be forced to sell Android. And if that's not enough, Google's facing similar actions in Canada, the UK, Europe, China, India, and Japan. The actions and the appeals will go on for some time, but right now, the score is 2-0. A new paper published last week with the title "The Era of Experience" paves the way for a new wave of AI developments that the authors claim will ultimately lead to AI surpassing human intelligence abilities by learning from its own experiences. It was published by DeepMind research lead David Silver and reinforcement learning pioneer Richard Sutton. The paper argues that the classic form of learning and training of generative AI models, ingesting huge amounts of pre-existing data, could actually be holding AI back. To some extent, existing AI model builders already know this, and they've been introducing what they call reinforcement learning, where humans interact with the AI model to let it learn by giving it rewards for finding strategies that solve problems or execute tasks successfully. This method has led to huge increases in AI performance. Silver and Sutton argue that using this method, and this method alone, no matter how sophisticated, makes AI an echo chamber of existing human knowledge. In other words, although AI has made exceptional progress, it ultimately reaches a limit imposed by the data we give it and the ability of its human trainers. In order to grow beyond those limitations, the authors say AI agents must actively engage with the world, collect observational data, and then use that data to iteratively refine their understanding, mirroring, in many ways, the process that drives human scientific progress. And it's not far-fetched. It builds on the accomplishment of the program AlphaGo, which eventually beat the masters in the strategy game Go that has limitless possibilities of moves. And it did it not by being given the rules, but by trying millions and millions of simulations and learning new techniques that surprise and even beat the grand masters of the game. But the authors believe that this simulation method is also limited, and what is needed are the actual interactions with the real world and learning not task by task, but by being given larger goals and learning the steps to achieve them. With the advent of what's been called agents that can actually operate computers from human interfaces, this allows AI to have real experiences that it can learn from. Now, instead of only simulated games, these agents can perform actions, observe true outcomes, and adapt over months or even years. And the method differs because it combines the classic reinforcement learning concepts like value functions and world models with what the authors term grounded rewards, drawn from real data, things like health metrics, sensor readings, or even scientific experiment results. In practice, an agent could refine its own hypotheses by running lab tests, tweaking parameters, and measuring the impact, and then repeating that cycle autonomously. And by continually generating and learning from its own experiential data far beyond any static human data set, the authors believe AI can not only match, but will actually surpass human expertise, even in complex domains. And for those who worry about these autonomous intelligent agents being dangerous, the authors acknowledge that the real-world experimentation does carry some risk, but conversely might actually make AI safer. There's a famous example that shows the danger of AI where an AI was given a task of being exceptionally efficient at making paper clips. In this, the researchers realized that, left to its own devices, the AI might even destroy the world because of its singular goal of turning the world's resources into paper clips. But with this new approach, the agents can be given larger goals and be tasked with monitoring their real consequences and adjusting misaligned objectives over time. The paper has garnered some attention, but it's largely flying under the radar, even though it's the first roadmap to breaking the constructs of existing AI models and surpassing human intelligence and abilities, and may one day rank with Google's other monumental paper, the 2017 paper, Attention is All You Need, which introduced the transformer model, revolutionized natural language processing, and led to the development of the AI models like ChatGPT and others. Lately, most of us have become aware of something called rare earth minerals, something we'd never heard of before, but we found out these are hugely important in our computers and our lives. China has very recently started to restrict their export as part of an ongoing tariff war with the U.S. As we pointed out in earlier stories, these rare earths are essential in a number of areas, and restricting them could turn into a real crisis. So the U.S. has been floating various strategies to get rare earth deposits from Ukraine or even Greenland and Canada, which also have huge deposits. But so far, those negotiations have been, to put it kindly, not very successful. And realistically, it could take years to replace not just the Chinese supplies, but there's also another piece, and that's the refining capability, which has incredible environmental impacts. And that's one that China also provides. So Western Digital and Microsoft have teamed up to launch a new recycling initiative aimed at extracting these rare earth elements from old hard disk drives. This has a dual benefit. It provides a source of these rare materials, but it also reduces electronic waste while enhancing domestic supply chains. The program, announced in mid-April, will use demagnetization technology to remove data from end-of-life enterprise hard disk drives while preserving the rare earth magnets inside. And these magnets, typically very difficult to recover, will then be extracted and reused in new hard drives or even other electronic products. Microsoft plans to implement the system across its cloud data centers as part of a broader push towards sustainability and circular hardware practices. The recovered magnets will be used in servers, wind turbines, and even electric vehicles. The initiative addresses two growing concerns: the environmental toll of e-waste and the dependency on imported rare earths, much of which come from restricted supplies in China. And by recovering magnets and other materials domestically, Microsoft and Western Digital aim to reduce both landfill volume and geopolitical supply chain risks. The pilot program could become a model for other tech giants with large-scale data infrastructures. And as an added bonus, this also fits into Microsoft's climate commitments, which include becoming carbon negative and zero waste by 2030. Turns out that your parents were wrong. politeness has a price. In fact, every time you type please or thank you into ChatGPT, you're contributing to a growing operational cost for OpenAI. CEO Sam Altman recently revealed that these polite exchanges are costing the company tens of millions of dollars annually in electricity expenses. And while these courtesies make interactions feel more human, they also add to the computational load, impacting both finances and the environment. ChatGPT processes over 1 billion requests daily from approximately 350 million weekly active users. Each additional word, including polite phrases, increases the number of tokens the AI must process, leading to higher energy consumption and costs. And Altman acknowledges this expense, but deemed it tens of millions of dollars well spent, emphasizing the value of human-like interactions. And the environmental impact is also significant. Generating a single response can consume about 2.9 watt-hours of electricity, and when this is scaled across millions of interactions, the energy usage becomes substantial. Despite this, many users continue to use polite language, with a 2024 survey indicating that 67% of Americans do so, and I assume 100% of Canadians, driven by habit or desire to maintain good relationships with the AI. So, while your polite interactions with ChatGPT contribute to a more human-like experience, they have real-world costs. And geez, I'm Canadian. I don't even want to know what it costs to say sorry. And that's our show. I'd say thanks for listening, but we don't have a big budget, so I'll just say it's good to be back. And it doesn't cost a thing to talk to us. You can reach me at editorial@technewsday.ca or on LinkedIn or in the comments on YouTube. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a terrific Tuesday.